Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Spritz. Welcome back to Spritz Bits. I know it's been a long time since I've done this. I haven't had the desire really to do it. There hasn't really been anything to talk about. Nothing that I really wanted to talk about. But now there is, and it's going to be about the new Smite Rivals game that's supposed to be coming out sometime this year. It's a lot like Clash Royale, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. Because one of the first few Spritz Bits I did was about Clash Royale, the mobile game, the card game. Smite Rivals is essentially the exact same game, and what I really wanted to talk about was that game and how it's basically the same thing as Clash Royale, and I want to talk about how games today are really clones of each other and how everyone complains that this game's a clone of that game and this game's a clone of that. First thing I want to talk about, though, is Smite Rivals. Smite Rivals is made by HiRez. They made Smite, the third-person MOBA. It's a card game, and it looks exactly like Clash Royale. You have 4 cards in your hand at all times. You have mana that regenerates. There are 3 lanes instead of 2 lanes like in Clash Royale. And then you have the phoenixes at the top and the bottom of the lanes, just like you do in Smite. And then you have a god that is your basis for your cards in your deck, just like in Hearthstone. Same kind of thing. You have like a paladin or you play a mage. That's the basis for your cards in your deck. But other than that, it's the exact same game as Clash Royale. They did nothing to differentiate. The art style is almost identical. It looks exactly the same, but I'll still give it a shot. I mean, it looks cool, but at the same time, it's still a clone, and they didn't do much to differentiate their game from Clash Royale. The one thing I've noticed about HiRez after Smite was they had no original games at all. None. Nothing they did was original. They did Paladins, which was a clone of Overwatch, although Paladins was being developed before Overwatch. They did nothing to make their characters look any different or act any different than Overwatch. They have a character that has a hook with his left hand and a shotgun in his right hand, just like Roadhog does in Overwatch. They have a character with a sawed-off shotgun, just like Reaper. They have a Widowmaker type character, and they have a Hanzo type character. It's essentially the same exact game as Overwatch. But Overwatch, when you think about it, is a clone of Team Fortress. It's the same kind of game, but at least Overwatch did some things that was different from Team Fortress. Team Fortress only has 9 characters. Overwatch started with 21 characters. Overwatch only allows 6 characters per team, where Team Fortress would allow up to 16 per team. You could have 32 people on a whole entire match. There are small similarities between Overwatch and Team Fortress that a lot of people can ignore. It's not really a big deal, but they are essentially the same game. And Blizzard has never had a first-person shooter. This is their first-person shooter, their first first-person shooter, and it's a lot like Team Fortress. But it plays well. People still appreciate the fact that it's original enough. The artwork is pretty similar, but there's some differences in it that set it apart from Team Fortress. With Smite Rivals versus Clash Royale, they're identical. Like, if you showed somebody screenshots of Smite Rivals, someone who's at least familiar with Clash Royale, they would think that they were looking at like an updated version or some different game mode of Clash Royale. They would see it and be like, oh, is that a new Clash Royale? There's 3 lanes? Is that different? Like, no, that's Smite Rivals. That's what HiRez has been known for. I used to play Smite a bunch. I played it all the time because I thought it was original enough. You had a third-person MOBA, which, again, MOBAs are not original. That's been around since Dota, the original Dota, okay, which was a mod for Warcraft 3. But now Dota 2 is made by Valve, which is the people who made Team Fortress. You know, could have been Blizzard that did it, but they weren't. League of Legends is a copy of Dota. Okay, Smite is a copy of both of those games, but third person, and they did it well because they had gods as the main characters. It wasn't just some generic character, you know, guy with a bow and arrow, you know what I mean? Guy with a shotgun, some big tank guy. It's not generic. It's characters from mythology, Greek mythology, you know, Japanese, Chinese, all that stuff. That's what made Smite a very good game, and everyone loved it because it was a different take on a MOBA. Now, if you think about older MOBAs, like Super Monday Night Combat, that is a third-person MOBA. You have lanes, you have minions, and you have characters you play as. That's a great game. That game was amazing. But the developers let it go because they wanted to do a Kickstarter for another game that now no one plays. But that's a different story. I'm just trying to give examples of similar games that could copy off of other games. But after Smite, HiRez started with Paladins. They wanted to make a new first-person shooter that was kind of in the realm of all these other games coming out like Overwatch. They did a card-based system, which was kind of cool, and then they had horses that you would mount up on to get to the point on the map that everyone was fighting at. So the map was unnecessarily larger just to be able to add in the mechanic of horses to travel places. Like, that doesn't exist in Overwatch, but it's not necessarily something you need to put in the game just to be like, oh, we're different. Our maps are larger. We require people to ride on horses. But you can't fight on the horse. If you get hit, you fall off. If you attack, you fall off. Like, it's an unnecessary mechanic just to make your game look different. It was stupid. I tried Paladins for maybe a month. I could not stay interested in it. It was not fun. I did a couple videos on it, on ways to, build up a good character and stuff. I couldn't really continue enjoying that game. It was not fun. Overwatch came out a few months later, and I've been playing that ever since. Now, Smite Rivals is their next game coming out, and then they have another one, and this just reinforces the fact that HiRez has no originality, like none whatsoever. They have a new game, not just Smite Rivals, but Smite Tactics. If you've played Final Fantasy Tactics, it's the exact same game, but you play with the gods from Smite instead. It's the exact same game. So that I won't play. I've never played any tactics games. I've never been into turn-based games. I've never really enjoyed that. It's kind of boring to me, but it's the same game. If you wanted to play Final Fantasy Tactics with Smite characters, play Smite Tactics. It's the same game. Keeping with the theme here of Smite Rivals is I'll probably try it out. I like the art style. It's easy to get into, but I have a bad feeling it's going to be 100% identical. Besides 3 lanes, it's going to be 100% identical to Clash Royale. Not as many people are going to play it because Clash Royale is massive and Smite and HiRez are tiny. But I'll at least give it a shot. If I think there's going to be some potential there, I might make some videos on it. But that's about it. That's all I really want to talk about. I wanted to talk about similarities between different video games that people love to call clones and stuff like that. Team Fortress versus Overwatch, or Smite Rivals now versus Clash Royale. League of Legends versus Dota. But I might play Smite Rivals. I at least want to give it a shot to see how it is. I don't plan on spending any money on it. I didn't spend any money on Clash Royale, and I got to a point where I couldn't beat anybody because I was getting matched up against people who had spent money and had saved themselves a little bit of time playing. They were able to upgrade cards and stuff faster than I was, and I could not get out of the rank that I was in. I could not go any higher. It was not worth the time. It was not worth the effort and the rage of playing that game. It was fun while it lasted, but I couldn't keep going with it. But that's all I've got. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you'd like to. I heard the like button is broken. But that's all I've got. Thank you for watching. That's the way it is.